Hey y'all, today I'm going to be showing my shopping haul from the Vintage and Antiques Market in McKinney that comes twice a year. My daughter and my mother and I always go the weekend of Mother's Day. We typically go Friday to their early bird special where you can get it an hour before everybody else. It's fabulous if you're a lover of vintage, antiques, primitives, anything along those lines. It's a great place to shop and we always have a blast. We've been doing it for several years now. And so I want to show you guys my haul because a lot of it has to do with gardening. As always, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you know when my latest videos are up. And make sure you drop me a comment below. Do you utilize vintage and antique items within your garden? Hi, Buffy. Okay, we're gonna start with outside real quick because one of my pieces is outside already, and it is this gorgeous column right there. Absolutely beautiful. So I got this to utilize outside on the back porch, but also to do my flower designs on all my floral arranging. I'm gonna put a Lazy Susan on top, and I think it'll work great. I have no idea how old this is. It might just be weathered as opposed to old. Who knows? I don't know, but I absolutely love it. There were two of them. There was a matching pair, but they were pretty pricey at $100. So I did not get both because there just really wasn't a need for me to have both. It felt a little over the top. But yeah, really like this design. Really excited to utilize it for my first floral design outside with this awesome column. Okay, let's go back inside and get settled and I'll show you the rest. Okay, so this is a really fun tradition with my daughter and my mother, and we love going and spending hours at this show, walking around, exploring, chatting with each other, dreaming with each other, designing with each other. It's always a really good time. I typically make quite a few purchases. It is a big splurge event. It only happens twice a year in our area. I'm gonna drop the website below so you can check it out. They do travel around the nation. So if you're interested, you can check it out and see if they're in your area. But like I said, it's a big splurge. It only comes twice a year. It's typically about anywhere from $10 to $15 per ticket to get in. And then of course you can shop to your heart's galore, which I did this year. I totally shopped to my heart's galore. I found several items that I was just absolutely in love with. So I want to show you them and then I want to talk to you about how I'm going to utilize them either in my home or in my garden. Okay, I'm going to start with a couple of decor pieces that I'm going to be utilizing in my house. This first one is a handmade embroidery. I think there's another word for this type of artwork, needlework artwork. I believe it's called like Creole. I'll have to look it up and I'll drop it down below. I'm not sure what it's called. But this is all handmade, hand stitched, absolutely beautiful. I thought it looked a lot like either geraniums or potentially rhododendrons. Absolutely beautiful. It is not signed on the back, but it has been professionally framed, as you can see by the paper on the back and such. It's in really great shape. Whenever I'm looking at any type of vintage or antique item that has fabric, I always smell it to make sure it doesn't smell like cigarette smoke or something along those lines. I don't want to bring that into my home because that type of thing can permeate fabrics very quickly. So I always smell it to make sure that it smells like an appropriate way. If this was like a tablecloth or something, I would wash it as well, but obviously it's a piece of work, I'm not going to. But I absolutely love it. I think it's bright, I think it's happy. I'm going to be utilizing it on my shelves back here during the summer. I paid $25 for this particular piece of artwork. Okay, I also bought this particular piece, which is another embroidery needle art type of piece. You can see it's a gazebo and flower design. Absolutely love it. I love the colors, the greens and the yellows and the whites, pale purples, everything utilized in it. And I was in love with it. As always, of course, I smelled it. I always smell them just to make sure. And this one was fabulous. It smells just fine. I loved all the daisies. I think it's absolutely beautiful. And I will be utilizing this on some of my shelving units. Maybe not this one, but I have another area in my house. I'll try to show you guys, maybe do an update of what I've done with all of these items in my house at a later point. I paid $20 for this design. Actually, I take that back. This one was $30. $30 for this design. Next is this beautiful salt glaze picture piece. As you guys know, I have a lot of salt glaze pieces. I have some back here behind me. I collected 3 so far. It originally started with inheriting one of my grandmother's salt glaze pictures, and I have continued to add to my collection. The reason I bought this one is it's so different from the ones that I have back over here. These are all kind of the standard shape and size, and I have a third one that's being used for flowers right now, and it's the same standard shape and size. This one, I have never seen this kind of, you know, rounded, very feminine shape. It actually has a bow imprinted on it. And it does have a little bit of damage to it, but that usually doesn't bother me. My concern is always, does it have a crack? And this does not have a crack. I always check my ceramics very carefully for cracks. Always check the handles for cracks as well. I paid a very pretty penny for this, but it is a piece that I'm always looking for these pieces, and they are few and far between. So literally it's taking me 10 years to collect 3 at this point. And so when I saw this and then I knew how unique and different it was, I went ahead and paid the full $45 for it. But I will say it will be loved, it will be cherished, it will be filled with lots of beautiful fresh blooms, and I am just so excited to have it in my home. Okay, and so of course I talk mainly about gardening in my on my YouTube channel, but I love decorating as well. I love collecting as well. So I actually have a collection of vintage bells, and so I saw these 2 at the market. One thing that's really interesting and different about these 2 bells is they actually have color on the bells. They're brass bells. This one right here has an unusual shape. It also has blues and reds in it and has a beautiful sound. Beautiful low sound. Really, really like it. This one was $12. I always ring my bells to make sure they sound pretty. It was a good one. And then this one right here has blue rubbed into the design with a little highlight of yellow. Absolutely beautiful. I paid $8. I love the really delicate stem or handle of the bell, and the handle of the bell is actually intricately designed as well. It has a great, great sound. So I did pick up these 2 bells. I leave my bell collection out year round. I'll put up a picture of it. You might have caught a glimpse of it in my Christmas designs. I post a lot during the holidays about how I decorate my house for Christmas, and the bells become something that really stands out at that time of the year. But picking these up with the color, I was very excited, very unusual, and very happy to add them to my collection. I'm also a collector of vintage plates. I love plates with color. I love for them to have wear on them. I'm not looking for them to be pristine. I know that a lot of collectors prefer the pristine look. It's just not my particular style, but I loved this one plate. It's so happy, and that was the goal. Like when I'm looking at china like this, I'm looking for something that brings me joy and is so happy to have in my house. Now, this particular plate says it is Ukakwo, Japan, hand-painted plate. I paid $9 for it. I love the color combination in it. I love that we had these red rust tones. I thought were really pretty unusual. A lot of plates I find have just greens and blues or pinks and purples, but finding kind of this reddish tone is kind of unusual. So I was really happy to have that. Also, it looked like a place that I would want to live someday. I just thought it was so pretty. Brought a lot. It's already set up in the back with holes in the back so it can be hung up. I hang a lot of my vintage plates. You can also see one back behind me, but I do like to put them on the shelves, and I really enjoy them. They bring me a lot of joy. They're an inexpensive item to collect, so if you're interested in starting vintage and antique collecting, plates is a great place to start. You can find beautiful plates at the Goodwill. You can find beautiful plates at the thrift store for a couple of bucks, which is a really, really fun way to kind of start a collection without spending a ton of money. Now, as I said before, I am a lover of ceramics. The reason I'm a lover of ceramics is I'm actually trained as a ceramic artist. I went to school for art, specifically sculpture, and then for a while I had a ceramics business after I got out of school. And I love ceramics. I love the process and the love that goes into molding this clay, shaping the clay, decorating the clay. And so when I come across ceramic pieces that look handmade, that just have beautiful texture, I'm immediately in love with them. And this particular piece is, I think it's Seville. So hard to read. I think it's Seville, USA, which is a well-known pottery factory, I guess I should say. Yeah, Seville. Anyway, I love this one particularly for its damage, which I know that's ridiculous, right? It has all these little flea bites all the way around, just little nicks out, and then the inside, the glaze has worn off. And I love the idea that this was in somebody's home for years and years and years, and they loved it. And so this will be a beautiful piece to utilize. I can utilize this as for floral design. I can fill the inside of it with like chicken wire and then do a beautiful floral design coming out of it. I can store fruit in here. I can store a wide variety of items in here. And then of course it works great as a decor piece. I paid $15 for this ceramic bowl. And of course, being a gardener, I'm always on the lookout for vintage pottery to go out into the garden. I loved the kind of blonde color of this particular ceramic pot. I loved how worn it looked and how it looked like it's been outside for ages. I do check these really, really well for cracks and such, and I ended up paying $25 for this particular piece. It's a good sized pot. I can't go buy a brand new one of these pots, you know, at home or, you know, Home Goods. I can't get a large pot like this for $25. And then especially finding one that has like a vintage antique kind of rustic look is even harder to find at this price. So I was very happy at $25 for this pot. It does have a drainage hole in the bottom. Okay, these next items are not antique or vintage. They are made to look old, but I was just enthralled with these little mushrooms. 3 different sizes. You push them into your plants or pots. I just love the look of them. I thought they were so whimsical. I believe the smaller one was $3 and the larger 2 were $5 each. And then my daughter insisted on picking up these little bitty ones down here. I think it was 3 for $5 to utilize within her fairy garden. So I just love that. I thought this was just so fun, unique. I think these are hand turned. I mean, I would guess, I don't know, but I loved them. As soon as I saw them, I was like, yes, I would like a few of those to incorporate in some kind of design in my garden. Okay, I do have a love of brass, and I do have a family of 5, and we have a beautiful kitchen island that becomes a catch-all for all the mails and paperwork. So when I saw this piece, I absolutely jumped to it immediately. I thought this would work great on my kitchen island, just to stack the mail in it, to kind of hold it as an organizer, sorter type of thing. And then instead of all of the mail getting spread out all over the island, I thought that would be really great. It's a really nice and heavy, so I think it can take a lot of paperwork in it, which is great. And it has this kind of little front area where you can drop a key, loose change, or in my children's case, loose Legos that somebody's looking for, something along those lines. But I really like the look at it. I thought it worked great. You know, beautiful, but also functional. Functional is very important as well. And I purchased this particular piece for $22. Okay, a couple of quick things. My daughter, she's 13. She collects all these little bitty kind of tea set plates and cups and such. I let her go for it, y'all. It's not anything, I never give her a hard time about the price. I rarely say no about her buying these type of things, because truthfully, she's 13 years old, and I'm grateful that she still has interest and a love in something like this. I'd much rather her be digging through bins at a vintage market than on her cell phone. So anytime she shows kind of interest in this kind of stuff, I am more than happy to indulge that with her, keep her a little girl as long as possible. But yeah, so here's a few of those things that she purchases. They're usually anywhere from like $1 to $5, just kind of depending on what it is that she ends up choosing. She loves to store collect all of these, pull them all out, just Not really sure what all she does with them in her room. She loves them and loves to collect them. It'll be really interesting to see what her future home ends up looking like. Of course, as she gets older, she kind of develops her own little style, so that's kind of fun. Okay, here's a couple of additional plates that I ended up purchasing. I got this one right here, which is kind of the apples, and it has that red rust color that I was talking to you about earlier. It has a couple of walnuts on the bottom, which I think is really kind of fun. I ended up getting this particular piece for $3. The date on the back says 1840. I don't know if that's actually this old. My guess would be no, because it looks like transferware. Transferware is where you can look at the image, and if you see a bunch of little dots creating the image, that is transferware. It was applied with a tissue paper transfer over. And then of course, if you see brush strokes, it's hand painted. But I love the look of this piece. I didn't buy it because it was transfer or hand painted. I bought it because I love the image. I love the imagery of it. I love the colors. And I thought the price was great at $3. So I think this will be a really fun one to utilize in my decor come this summer. Okay, I just want to bring the two of these together so you can see completely different imagery, but you can see how the colors relate really well to one another. That's why I chose something like these. I was really trying to think of what colors work together where I can utilize them within the same vignette on shelving or fireplace or something like that, where they can be utilized and they can complement one another. I also purchased this piece, which is also transferware, because I can see all the little dots, made in Japan. I don't know if it's necessarily the highest quality piece, but I love the look of it. I love the crazing on it. That's all the cracked glaze on it. I thought the colors were fun. Even though it is transfer, it does have a little pop of additional hand painted color on it, which I thought was fun. And I love the fall tone, so I thought this might be fun to utilize in my fall decor. This particular piece was $5. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing my haul from this vintage market. Like I said, I really have a love of vintage and antique objects. I love the idea of stories behind them. I like the idea of mixing more modern pieces with vintage designs. A lot of people have a hard time like, oh, do I have to go all antique or all vintage? No. I truthfully just choose things that I love. That's really where we're at. I'm further along in life that I don't feel a need to please anyone else except myself within my home. So I just choose things I love. I choose things that I want to see sitting out. I choose things that have functionality. I choose things that have character. I just choose items that really speak to me. And so that's an important concept to think about when you're shopping somewhere like a vintage antique market or thrift store or antique shop, something along those lines. Choose things that speak to you and that you love. And then the price tag doesn't really matter at that point if you have a love for it. I've gotten into a conversation with a lady in one of the booths, and she was out shopping with her daughter as well, and she picked up a piece, and she's like, well, I don't know about paying that price. I don't know if it's worth it. And I said, well, it's worth it if you love it. Then the price doesn't matter at that point. If it's something you're planning on keeping forever and you love and you enjoy it, then the price isn't a factor in it. If you're worried about value because you're going to be reselling this piece, or you only want it for one little occasion and then you're going to let it go or resell whatever, then yeah, then the price of it becomes a factor at that point. And so yeah, she and I got in a conversation about that. She was actually searching for vintage dishes for a baby shower. And so at that point in time, she didn't want to invest $5 for a dish. I suggested she absolutely go to a thrift store, because you can find a lot of vintage items at thrift stores for very inexpensive. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. It was kind of fun showing you guys something a little bit different. Hope you enjoyed my finds. Go ahead and drop me a comment below and let me know what your favorite find that I got was. For me, it's probably either the picture or the wood pedestal outside on the back porch. I don't know. We'll see which ones. As always, she's a bad gardener or a decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.